Welcome to Faith on Tap, a podcast where we go out to the wilds of local breweries and talk to you about, thoughts and various topics that are important to all of us. We are in Brewery Legitimus in New Hartford, Connecticut. Big selection of beer. In fact, they had several stouts. One of my favorites they have is Lord Dobson. They've had this for years, and this is a bourbon barrel variety. And I thought it was very good. Your thoughts, Liz?
Yeah, I had the same one. Very, very solid beer for sure.
So coming from a person who creates their own bourbon,
That may be illegal in some states, so I may not do that.
No, if we knew someone who did that.
If you knew someone who was making their own bourbon, would that rise to the occasion?
Well, I'm not
I didn't
tasting
really
the bourbon.
taste anything bourbon-y.
It's just a little bourbon like background.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the imperial stout that's
Gotcha.
taking center stage. It was good for a brewery in Connecticut. I would give it like a good 8.5, 9.
Especially coming out of winter into the summer.
Yeah. And still having without
having a stout.
without going
Summer? You call this
full
summer.
IPA.
I'm walking around in a winter coat and a winter hat, and you called this coming into summer?
It's 50.
It was not 50. It was,
I had schmutz under my armpits.
Well, on that note, what did you have to drink, Dennis?
I had the Illegitimus, which was their New England IPA, double IPA. It was good. Nothing over the top, nothing under quo, but I give it a solid 8.
And this is your fourth or fifth one? Sixth. Yeah, sixth. Okay.
Sixth,
So you must really like it.
So it's good. I'm just going to hook up the IV next and just take an intravenous.
Whatever it takes. Yeah. You'll be ready for the sermon on Sunday. Question we'll be asking tonight is going to be,
when someone asks you, how are you doing? Do you give them, what kind of answer do you give them?
Yeah,
the truth.
Yeah. So this has a lot of ramifications from church life to social life to family life. It'll be interesting. I don't feel how people are going to address this question.
I personally think that people will say, I say I'm fine when I'm not.
Most people will say that.
I just think that's the tone that we're going to hear.
And they'll say, but they want to be polite or whatever. Yeah. I tend to agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think people, when they ask that, they actually mean it anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's just a politeness.
And they don't care what you're going to say.
No, it's like a new version of hello. It doesn't actually mean what the word means.
We'll see what kind of fun we get from the crowd tonight.
I'm here with Dave. Dave's good to see you. When you are asked how you are doing, how often do you answer truthfully?
Oh, that is all day, hourly, and minute dependent.
Explain that a little bit.
It's very easy to express euphoric moments where you can't think of a better moment in your entire life. And then there's times, sad times when life is thrown to you a curveball where you go, ugh. But then you have to circle back and think about the good times. And yeah, you might answer, yeah, I'm okay, but you aren't feeling it. But deep down inside, you're going to come around to those great moments again.
So you're holding on to hope even in the dark times.
I wouldn't say hope. Hope is long. Hope is a ways off. You talk about hope when you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's there. Even in my deepest moments of tragedy, regret, whatever, I've never had to revert to hope. I've always felt that a better day is coming.
Yeah.
The sun's going to come up tomorrow morning.
And so you don't think of that as hope. You just think of that as your reality.
Hope is when you look around and you don't feel that life force.
Gotcha.
That's my feeling. Is that people go to hope when or to faith when they don't have any place to turn to.
Mm-hmm.
There's always something more than just hope.
Interesting. So let me ask this straightforward question. Are you more prone to, I don't want to use the word lie, but to lie that you're okay when asked? Or are you more prone to tell the truth? You know, I'm having a crappy day.
Oh, I've had crappy days, and I've been honest. I go, okay, I'm having a crappy day, but it's not the lower depths.
Gotcha.
There's
There's always hope.
yeah, there's always tomorrow. Well,
There-
no.
And that is a
No,
hope, right?
My interpretation of hope is where you don't see the light at the tunnel at all. I've never felt that.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So awesome. Thank you. Rich. So the question is, if I asked you how you were doing, how honest would you be?
More often than not. And the reason is that over the past few years, I have learned to develop a real sense of gratitude for being who I am, for being with whom I am sharing a life's experience, but to be grateful for where I'm at.
How did you get to that place?
Through 2 retirements, through a couple of different careers, through a couple of different marriages, I am every day grateful. I'm every day grateful to wake up that my wife hasn't killed me in my sleep.
You know, I'm grateful for that too right now.
Come on, man. Come on. Okay, I get to wake up again today. But it's that fundamental sense of gratitude that whatever nonsense comes our way in life doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Being grateful for what we have is what matters most to me. Yeah.
And so that expression of gratefulness comes out in your answer to the question, hey, how you doing today, Rich?
You know what? Pretty okay. Pretty
Awesome.
grateful to be where I'm at. Yeah.
Great.
Ditto. Yeah.
When people ask you how you're doing, how often are you honest with them?
Not much. Not often.
So why not much?
Sometimes I feel like I don't want to burden somebody.
So you're concerned about their
I can take
feelings.
my bad day myself and not share it.
Is this your wife?
Yeah, 45 years.
Okay. Well, so would you, if she asked you how you're doing, would you not be honest with her?
Oh, no.
Straight honest.
Okay, so you're honest with her.
Right?
I don't know, are you?
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're not married and
So
share a relationship for 45 years without being honest.
So are you talking about your with people on the street who ask you how you're doing? You say fine.
I'll just say I'm fine.
And
But I'll always say, how are you doing?
and would you want would you want them to say fine back, or would you like to have some honesty on that too? Well, in other words,
I mean, if they want to open up, they can open up. I'll
Okay.
listen.
so I'm just curious. Maybe people, or do you just like get an idea what they're saying if they really care? You get a sense that they're just saying that, or do you actually say, I think they really care and I want to share that?
I think some people want to share.
And do you have the gift inside you to know when to be honest with but not honest, but to share the openness that you have with
I
them?
don't think it's a gift. I just think you feel when it's the right time.
Well, I think a lot of guys don't do that, so I do think it's a gift. I think a lot of guys just shut everything off and keep everything, internalize everything.
Guys always have to be a guy,
Yeah.
which is a shame.
So you're comfortable with who you are, obviously, and you seem like a genuinely just want to help people and make people feel good about themselves. That's who you are, and you don't want to burden other people.
Yep.
Except your wife. You'd burden her if you needed to.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what the marriage is about. That's a good thing, right?
Yeah. For better, for worse.
Okay. Oh, thank you. When people ask you how you doing, how often are you honest with them?
It depends upon who's asking. If it's a family member or a friend, be honest with them. If it's somebody who I work with or a stranger, it's not their business.
So you wouldn't tell them because it's not their business, or would there be another reason why you wouldn't really want to share?
It's not their business.
Okay. So if you had something really bad happening with you, you would just say, "I'm fine."
I probably wouldn't even answer them.
Okay. But every family member you would be very honest with?
Somewhat honest, yeah.
Depending on how close you are with each family member?
Right, yes.
And is that because certain family members really care more maybe about you than others, maybe? Is that your perception of that?
So, certain family members like to gossip.
Okay, I see.
You know,
Okay, I got you.
so some people just don't need to know everything.
Right. But you're not afraid to share your feelings with other people as long as you can trust where the information goes.
Correct.
Okay. And I assume that with your husband, you would share 100% of
Oh, yeah. Probably too much.
to a fault.
I'm a personal assistant.
Yeah. Well, we all need one. So would you say you're normally a complicated person, that you have a lot of thoughts going on in your mind, that a lot of people probably don't need to know all that?
Yes.
Whereas if you're simple, then you say, "I'm fine," or "I'm a little sad today," but you're a lot more evolved, a lot more complex. So it's for certain people, you say, "I'm fine. It's not worth it." Is that
Right,
kind of like
exactly? Yeah.
Okay. And now you've lived your whole life that way, I'm assuming.
So I think once I got married and started learning to, at a young age, got married, and then started learning and growing and becoming more confident and knowing who I am, then that kind of will evolve.
Okay.
But not all my life have I been like that. I think I've been a lot different before we got married.
Oh, so since you've been married, you've been more open about your feelings to people.
No, I would say less.
Oh.
Less open.
Oh, the other way. And you just share your feelings more to your husband. And okay.
Right.
All right. Well, that was super. Thank you so much. Okay, we are back. So, Liz, I'd like to know what keeps you up at night.
That's the fact that I still don't know how to fold a fitted sheet properly. I mean,
Does anyone?
there are actual YouTube videos on how to do it.
What's
And I'm like, that looks amazing. And I'm like, so my version of is it, oh, look, I'm doing all four corners. And then it turns into a giant ball. And I'm like, good enough.
Close enough, yeah.
Good enough.
Wait, you can actually fold a fitted sheet.
They come folded, but it's a lie.
It is.
It's a total lie.
Because we ball ours up and put them.
Yeah.
They flatten out once they're balled. I mean, they
It's
do.
fine. It's fine. Americans have been bamboozled into thinking this is a necessary thing to do.
That was a voice of the overseer of orthodoxy.
I hate the term, but as a pastor, I have to be for our community.
The overseer
Of
of orthodoxy. What term? Which overseer or orthodoxy?
Both. I mean, I have to maintain.
No, what you seem to cringe a little bit on that.
Yeah, because that's a huge responsibility
Oh, yeah,
for any one person.
yeah,
to be an overseer of orthodoxy for a community.
but that's what you get paid the big bucks to do.
The big bucks.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's true. I do get paid the big bucks.
So when you were asked, "How are you?" how often do you actually tell the truth about that? I had a really good conversation with a husband and wife, Steve and Lisa, and Steve basically stated that he does not tell people too often how he really feels because he doesn't want to burden others with what's going on in his life. He'd be more interested in helping people, and he'd be more than happy to address the question, ask them, a stranger or a friend, and be willing to accept a real raw answer. And also, he said, my wife, I don't mind burdening my wife. And so I thought that was...
Amen to that.
Lisa, on the other hand, was also very honest, and she said, "Well, it depends who's asking," as you just heard. And I think we all can relate to that. People who you're close to, you're going to share the truth with. Hopefully, they'd care, and strangers, not so much. But we can address that. You talked to Dave and Rich, and
yeah, they had kind of different opinions. I believe it was Dave that said something along the lines of, "It depends who's asking. It depends the mood. It depends
on everything." Yeah.
And so, and I get that. Like, if I want to go into something, I'll go into it. If I don't, I'm fine. And sometimes my face doesn't say fine, but my words do. Yeah. So it was that was a very hard hitting, truthful answer. Just it depends.
And Rich was honest too when he said that more often than not he'd be honest, but he's also learning gratitude, and I think that's something we can all probably learn a lot from gratitude, because
I wonder if that changes your response to how you doing. If you have a heart filled with gratitude, or if you have a heart filled with life sucks.
Yeah, you're right. I could quote a famous artist that we all enjoy here, although quite different songs, Jackson Brown. In Late for the Sky.
No.
Hear me out. I'm not going to.
Okay.
Jackson Brown, Late for the Sky. He said, maybe people only ask you how you doing because it's easier than letting on how little they could care. I think there's a lot of truth. So I think we all can agree that most people, when they answer the question, most of the time, we're just polite.
Right.
And we train ourselves to just hide what's really going on. But I think some people, instead of saying hello, they say, how you doing? Which to them is like, hello. They're not expecting you to say anything back than good or what have you. So so part of that is just our culture.
That's just a cultural exchange. It means nothing. It's just an interaction to establish that it happened.
Although, there are groups of people that we can ask that, and we would want a truthful answer. If if I ask my kids how they're doing, I would say, "Oh, good. How are you?" No. How are you doing? Or we have friends coming over, that they're honest with us. They tell us how things are, and I think that's really important. With that in mind, I had one couple. They admitted to me that they only tell the truth to their spouse, and I'm like, does that say anything about how surface level we are with other people in our lives if we're not willing to share deeper things with them?
It could be that, or it could be a trust issue, that they're not willing to trust anyone with anything of their lives. They could have been hurt in the past, or, had a Benedict Arnold in their past.
Sure. But that's still treating people. You're describing what happened, but it's happening, and those people are treating them at a surface level, right? At that point.
But it could be a protective surface level, and not just the people are shallow.
Right. I see what you're saying. Yeah. I totally agree. I wasn't assuming that the people were shallow, only that the friendships will be shallow.
Yes.
Because if you're not going to give part of yourself to that person for maybe very legitimate reasons, then you're missing out on people's lives and living lives with each other. Right. That's the point I was trying to get across. And do you think most people in society are that way? Do you think like the average person would be able to share their true feelings with people around them in their lives?
We only have so much energy to give to the entire world. You have to be very selective. There's only a few people that I think that it's like, I'm not just gonna, like, when I go to the grocery store, if they tell me have a good one, like, yeah, my ones are gonna be great, thank you. I don't need to tell. They ask me, how are you doing today? It's like it's irrelevant. That energy is for a select few people. The other people, it's unnecessary for them to be involved. Unnecessary. And some people, it's a burden to give it to. So you have to be cognizant of who you're giving that out to. Not everyone needs it or deserves it.
So if we're going to flip that question around and people you ask, how you doing? I'll ask both of you, would you like an honest answer, or would you rather just hope they say fine and move on?
Again, that's very circumstantial. I mean, if I ask you how you're doing, I mean it very sincerely. If I ask my friend Melissa how she's doing, I mean it. But if I'm talking to just random people, it doesn't mean it's just a social construct. It doesn't mean anything. So, the people that I care to know, I'll make it an issue. The people that it's not important in my circle, then I won't make it an issue. It's just a construct.
I've trained myself not to ask the question flippantly, because I found that when a pastor asks the question of someone, they may tend to feel invited into a much more deeper conversation than I am available to give or willing to give at that moment. And so I don't flippantly, hey, how you doing? Unless I really want to know how you're doing.
So like 10 minutes before church, when you're greeting everybody, you would never ask that question.
Yeah. And ultimately people will, they'll come in and they'll want to tell me, and I'm always as attentive as I can be up until the point where I have to go.
Yeah.
And so it's a real discipline, because it's very easy, to Liz's point, the social construct of, hey, how you doing? And I don't think, again, to Liz's point, that we're really expecting a truthful answer. We're an in-depth answer. We're hoping for hey, I'm good. How are you doing? Hey, I'm good too. Done. And the conversation's over, and I think that's what most people.
I think it's unfair to flip the script on people when that's the way it has played out in the past X many years as that construct is developed, to all of a sudden like press in and force people to be uncomfortable. I think that's kind of creepy.
Oh, if you're forcing them, sure. But
yeah, it's like, no, really. I mean, how are you really doing? I think that's just kind of, no, play the game. Stop that. Whatever it is you're doing, this is not the place or time for what you're doing.
I know what you're saying, but there have been times that, like, say at the cash register, someone said, how you doing? It's like, well, I go, oh, why? What's wrong? And they're not going to share their deepest thoughts, but they'll share that they had to get up early to work, or they had to get home for this or that. And I think they wouldn't say that if they didn't want to be heard, and at least have a sympathetic ear at least. So I try to provide that. But I do understand.
You'd make a good pastor then.
Yeah, I would make a horrendous pastor. All right, so let's look at like David. Okay, so in his Psalms, he very openly talked to God, how he felt, his pain, his anger, his doubts, everything. So if God's people could be that raw and real with him, why do we feel the pressure, let's say in church, to just put a smile on and say we're fine?
Well, in church.
Yeah, in church.
We have to speak about, I heard a story, and the story was a wife was going to church all the time, and the husband never went to church. And then finally the wife got the husband to go to church, and the husband went to church, and he was sitting in church, and he forgot to turn his phone off. And the phone rang, and it made a loud noise, and the pastor stopped and looked at him, and then people around him were poking him. And then after church, somebody came up to him and said, don't you know that we're supposed to shut our cell phones off at church? And so the man felt really, really just picked on it and kind of pointed to and towards and felt belittled. And then later that night, he went to a bar and he dropped a drink on the floor, and then the bartender came up and said, don't worry about it, we all make mistakes, and cleaned it up and bought him another drink. And another guy said, don't worry about it, because it got all over his shoes, and he wasn't worried. And the man never went to church again, but he went to that bar every night. And so I think the fear that we as Christians have in church is we're going to be judged, we're going to be condemned, that we are the only ones suffering through or having this problem, and no one can possibly understand. And I will be looked down upon because I have voiced my opinion. And unfortunately, that's probably true half the time. It's more prevalent than I think we like to imagine.
I hope you're not right, but you may be. I mean, I just, when people ask me, I just assume they really don't care. So I'll just say, oh, good. Because, you could tell, your relationship with that person, or in the context it was given. If I really had a lot on my mind, 95% of the time, not going to say it. It's like, yeah, I'm good. No, everything's perfect. Yeah.
Right.
And especially in church time, where it's a lot of hit and miss conversations, you don't really go in depth most of the time. So, and I guess in life situations, I mean, but I do think that the overall perception of that question, do we often just say we're fine and not care? That's kind of develops superficial relationships with people around us, because how many people would you actually be willing to talk to about how you're doing? And hopefully it's not just one person. Hopefully it's a number of people who have different relationships with, where you can, that they can relate to. So, yeah, I know what you're talking about because there's a time when, or what have you. I don't know. I just think society as a whole, we've gotten, I don't know. I don't have any data I've been talking on my head. I don't have any data to show that I'm right, but it seems like society as a whole has simply gotten more superficial and
it's easy.
More distant.
Superficial is easy. Superficial lacks any commitment.
Yeah, no commitment, no emotional commitment,
nothing,
no physical. Yeah, it's nothing. It's just like, man, it's good. I did my penance by asking you that. Now I want to move on.
Yeah, please don't tell me the truth.
Yeah,
how are you doing? Don't tell me how you're really doing.
But boy, that's so opposite of what we should be doing as Christ followers, with a broken world, with broken people in our church. We really should. That a lot of these people, I'm fortunate enough to have people in my life, like Liz and all that. We can talk about stuff, but a lot of people don't have anyone in their life that they can talk to. And part of I work with a couple of guys in my church. We go to like widows' houses and stuff like that to help them out, and half our job is not fixing a TV or fixing a bed. It's talking to them. They just want to talk, and for someone like me, that's difficult because task oriented. I want to get this. Okay, I got this job done. Now I got to move on. But they want to talk, and I have to like hit myself and say, this is just as important as fixing this.
Right.
So listen to them, because they don't have a lot of people to talk to. So I don't know. I would think our church community should be a better example than it is at times. Not our church, but churches in general.
Yeah, absolutely. We can do much better at loving each other and loving the people outside. Or maybe that sounds like a big word that has no meaning. We can just see people, just see them. Like, I'll give you an example of my disobedience. I put all of the fruit of the Spirit on little pieces of paper. Love, joy, peace, patience, kind of blah, blah, blah. And I pick one out every day, and I go, this is the one I'm going to focus on. Not my original idea. Somebody at my gatekeepers group had this idea. And I'm like, that's a great idea. Not that you neglect the other ones, but you. And I was coming out of my chiropractor's office, and I opened the door, and this man walked in, and behind him was his son, big dude, probably junior, senior in high school, lacrosse t-shirt on. And as I held the door open, he looked at me and said, "Thank you, sir." And I'm like, wow. Okay. And I felt in my spirit that I was to go in, say to Dad, you know what, you're doing a good job. This is what your son did. Completely neglected it.
Oh, you didn't do it? Oh,
nope.
That was happy ending.
It was disobedience on my part. Just and so those are the things that I think we as Christians get prompted to, and we neglect. Would make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, just a follow-up. I know it's just one example, but do you recall why you didn't? Was it because you're in a hurry, or you felt uncomfortable?
Yeah, sure. Whatever the excuse was. Okay. I'm not going back in now. They probably got the room already because it was just, I rationalized my disobedience. to what God was calling me to. And I set out to be kind. That was the word of the day, kindness. And I'm like, I blew it.
Yeah.
And I can give you multiple other times where the Holy Spirit prompted me to press into someone I had a sense of or whatever, and I don't look like a fool. You know? So we'll see how the next tomorrow's word works out.
Practically speaking, how do we become people who can like both ask, how are you, more intentionally and answer more truthfully?
Mm-hmm.
What would that look like if we did that more in the workplace? We did that in families or church or even strangers. I mean, wouldn't that overall be a more positive thing than just, and then being conscious of if they're in a hurry and or something like that, or understanding that they don't care, but having that discernment, should we press that a little bit more and really care about our community, our family, our church?
Yes and yes. I think Liz brings up a good point where you can't be deep with everyone. As a pastor, I can't share my frustrations about the church with the church.
Sure.
And so we have to be careful. But if we can be more aware of others, I personally think that people in our community sit there on Sunday morning and they look around, and for some, they see someone who they have a prompting to go talk to them or ask them how they're doing, or they have, they look like they're having a bad morning, whatever, and we don't because of whatever reason. We can come up with 1,000 different
Well,
reasons.
it's kind of unfair asking you because you have a job that you have to do on Sunday morning.
Right.
So you really can't do that activity on
Not
Sunday
on a
morning.
Sunday morning. Right.
But when people are in church as a local or church as a universal is going to get closer to God, more inviting to people. I do think we have to care more about the people. And part of that comes into being honest and
Correct
with who we are and really caring about others.
I think Romans chapter 12 is one of my favorite chapters in the Bible about how we're to treat each other. To treat everyone better than yourself, like they're better than you.
Right,
and if everybody did that, there'd be a different dynamic, I think. Though we're never going to do it perfectly, but it's something that we can kind of strive towards or be working towards or being sanctified towards.
On that note, let's people who are listening, let us be a goal this week to reach out more and be more cognizant of people and where they are.
Amen.
All right. Good night.